How do you think it spread?
I don't know. I think some people say it's smell. But I haven't smelled anything yet.
I suppose it could be the bad air. That's what I've heard anyway.
Well, I've heard say you literally look at a person and you got it.
Do you believe that?
Don't want to take any chances. It's good enough for me. Won't get me looking at somebody that's got it.
Some people think also it's bad people go spreading it around.
What sort of bad people?
Well, some people say lepers, that they pollute the wells, they pollute the water.
What happens is that when the rats start dying of plague, they are desperately hungry. The bacteria that they've sucked up from the rat have blocked their gullets and they are mad for food. So what they do is they leave the rats, which are getting cold and dead, and they're looking for anything warm to feed on. And that's when humans get infected. It's when the rats are dead. You notice maybe the bite of the flea, and then 5 days later, what would happen is you'd start to feel a bit feverish.
I'll be all right. Come on, off you go, just. Off you go, come on.
I'll just go. Going for a little while, eh?
Just for a bit.
Boy! Alice?
John! John, come on, get up. John. Let me get him, come on, let me get him.
After feeling feverish, what happens is that the next day you notice you've got a lymph node growing up. The commonest place, because fleas bite us mainly in the leg, is in the groin. And this is a bubon, which means a swelling in the groin, basically, in Greek. And that's why it's called the bubonic plague. The bubo will grow to quite a large size, maybe 10 centimetres in diameter. It'll be red on the surface of it, but it's so painful. After that would come, if you were not going to survive, if the bacteria had entered your bloodstream, if they'd entered your lung, then you would consume all the clotting factors in your blood. After the clotting factors are all consumed, you'd start bleeding spontaneously for no reason. And so you'd get bruises under the skin. And this is why, of course, it's known as the Black Death. The other types of plague are secondary pneumonic plague. This is where the person's been infected with bubonic plague. Now the bacteria are spreading through the blood. They reach the lungs and give a pneumonia with coughing and chest pain. And so the person then can cough bacteria over their neighbours. If the neighbour inhales some of that Yersinia pestis, they get primary pneumonic plague, pneumonia obviously being referring to the lungs. And so what happens is that the person has a pneumonia with a cough and a fever, they get diarrhea, they get vomiting, and that is 100% fatal.
At that time, God was so sickened by all the sin he saw on the earth, he decided to send a terrible disease to punish mankind, both the innocent and the guilty. In 1346, countless numbers of Tartars and Saracens in the east were struck by a mysterious illness that almost always resulted in sudden death.
It was a typical enough trip. There was certainly nothing unusual about it. We were to bring back spices and silk and animal skins from the east to be sold in the west. We set off from Genoa to Constantinople and everything was fine. Then we sailed across the Black Sea and made our way to Saray. It was when we reached there that we began to realize something was terribly, terribly wrong. There had been an outbreak of a mysterious disease, and there was sickness and death everywhere. You could almost smell and taste the fear in the air, and we decided that we should return home immediately. But everywhere we stopped, it was the same story. We were surrounded by death. The disease was spreading, and it would appear that there was nothing that could stop it.
And you must have heard stories of the terrible plague from the east that strikes down the unbelievers. The terrible death spreading this way. The terrible suffering of the victims, the boils, the sores, the pain. The bodies piled higher than people, higher than houses. And I say to you, this is God's judgment upon those who have sinned.
I don't think he'd come here.
Why?
We're out in the countryside, aren't we? We're not in the dirty towns or, you know, it's quite clean here.
Do you think it's going to come here?
No, no.
Why?
Well, it's only... Well, if it does, then it would only kill off the sinners. Because God wouldn't punish... God wouldn't punish innocent people, though. He only punishes those that are evil.
No, it's too far away. It's not going to come anywhere near here. It's these heathens that don't believe. And they're just being punished.
No, I won't get it. I'm a good person.
So what are you going to do about it?
I've heard it's in the next village.
Quiet! Quiet, all of you! Panic is not the answer. Prayer is the answer. We must prostrate ourselves before God in prayer. We can still save ourselves from this pestilence.
don't think I know anybody who wasn't affected by it in our village. I mean, I don't think I know anybody who didn't have at least one member of their family die. And some families were wiped out altogether.
It was a terrible, terrible time. Terrible. People were in such pain. People were getting these terrible pains in their heads and blood was coming out of their mouths. It was just awful.
Just terrified for their lives, for their children. Boarded themselves up, really. Tried to just keep away from the bad air.
Some people said it was like the flood, and it was like the flood. We all thought we were going to die. We just didn't know when. But at least with the flood, some people were saved, but this time, we didn't think anyone was going to be.
There was a young girl and young boy who were hoping to get married, and he became ill. She was determined to nurse him, and he wanted her to go, obviously, because he knew he wasn't going to survive.
Please don't stay. You gotta save yourself. Please go.
He became very, very sick, but she still wouldn't leave, and his body was beginning to rot, and he had sores all over his body, and in the end he died.
But even after he'd died, she stayed with him. He was starting to needed to be buried. Even her mother was trying to drag her away. It was, I think she went quite mad.
To begin with, they were clearing the bodies up, but there were so many bodies, so many people were dying, and there was less people to clear the bodies away, so the bodies just piled up.
And that unfortunately the wild animals would come and dig them up in the night.
You'd see bits of bodies, you'd recognise who it was. A head. Someone's head, and you knew who they were.
When the graveyard was full, the priest had to consecrate some new ground, another graveyard. But so many people were dying at that time, in the first months of the disease, that got full very quickly as well. In the end, people were just left outside.
God! Lift this pestilence! Pray, all of you! God, hear us! Hear our prayer! Please stay your hand! We are the poor sinners! Pray! Pray with your heart! Let God hear your voices! Only those with pure thoughts! They shall walk alive! Spare us! God, spare us! Raise your voices to God! Repent your sins! Only sinners will die! This is God's judgment! We must cleanse ourselves before our brothers! God, look down on us with mercy! Lord,
No, I won't get it. I'm a good person. I'm a good person. I'm a good person.
It's been an absolute bloody disaster. It's killed all the good peasants off with the bad ones. Now I haven't got enough peasants to work the land. The one I have got is stroppy all the time. I mean, people just won't work like they used to. Absolutely disastrous, the whole thing.
What do you think is going to happen? Do you think there's going to be any difference in your lives?
Yeah, we want to see differences. We want to see changes.
We've realised that the lords and the noblemen, they're not any higher than us, really. I mean, they died as well, you know. So it's sort of, you don't really want to do as you're told anymore.
Well, the reeve came round and was trying to be, I didn't see him during the sickness. He kept well away. But as soon as it was over, he was back. Oh, yeah. Oh, we need you to get it all in. Oh, we need you to do this. We need you to do that. There aren't as many of us now, though. We're valuable.
So what changes do you think that's going to mean?
We're going to ask for more food. That's what we're going to ask for. I don't see why they should have to have it all. Up at the manor.
We want to get loads more out of what we do. You know, we work this land. We want to see something from it. Everything we do on this land is taken away from us. We want to see something back.
think the fact that the disease affected rich people and poor people alike is a kind of lesson? What lesson is that?
The priest died, so that shows it wasn't just normal sinners like you and me. It was people in the church that were sinning, and I think God has cleansed our village of those people that were not looking out for the best interests of us, really.
But he also took your children, didn't he?
That's different because they were little ones and they're weak. And little children, they're not sinners like you or me. Children don't know how to sin, I don't think.
So, how does that make you feel about God, that he took your children who were innocent as well as the guilty people?
But my children went to heaven, so they're in a better place, so...
Does that comfort you?